Good morning, it's Annie Kaspar. It is 8:49 a.m. on 2/15/2017. I hope everyone is about to create the most amazing day, has created the most amazing day, and continues to create amazing days. I want to spend a little bit of time today talking about my observations to date in my conversations with, particularly with TIs. And also based on observations I've made over the past 8 years, following very closely social trends and socioeconomic and political developments throughout the world. After interviewing about 30 TIs in the past 2 weeks or so, I see an exceptionally disturbing trend that makes this phenomena also very much an act of human trafficking. And the reason I say that is because there's a social engineering aspect to targeting that is exceptionally, exceptionally disturbing. I find very few targets of higher socioeconomic and or educational statuses. The primary socioeconomic grouping of targets is from poverty to middle class, either in childhood or scoping back through lineage, um, being a minority for certain, being a woman for certain, which is being a minority. And it's really clear to me that the different aspects of the same program that I'm seeing are without doubt a very vast social engineering program that's incredibly reminiscent of what the Nazis did in Germany and what the Japanese were attempting to do in Asia, under the auspices, of course, of unifying their peoples and purifying blood. And if anyone had half a brain, they would know scientifically that the greatest evolutionary fervor and success comes through diversity. It's like genetics 101. It's bizarre. It's bizarre how perverse this group is, actually. But then they're clinically insane, so of course they're going to be perverse. But it's incredibly disturbing to me as a person with Chiron in Aquarius in her 11th house for you astrology people, to see this kind of thing, because what it shows me is exactly what I experienced in my life, that the cards were definitively stacked against me as a daughter of a single mother who grew up, although educated and disciplined as kind of an upper class individual because of lineage, living in a middle class life. And the level of limiting I saw, and the superficial constructions within different industries that I saw. And I wasn't, I wasn't like a socialist or social activist or anything of that nature. I was just observing is borne out 30 years later, 40 years later, in these testimonies from TIs. So, so when you couple that with the human trafficking phenomena that is so outrageously pervasive, and I won't talk about it here, but I absolutely ran into it in New Mexico and New York State. That's all I'm going to say about this right now. Actually, Puerto Rico too, but Puerto Rico I ran more into drug and gun running. I'm not going to talk about any of this right now because that's probably one of the reasons why I've been so aggressively targeted for so long. I managed to observe these very strange things that absolutely confirm what the majority of truth activists have been researching and discovering and sharing with our world. But I've experienced it, straight on, with a very objective, observational kind of perspective without preconceived notions. And I try to stay in that space because what has historically made this group of deep state individuals, so that I use that as a metaphor, I'm not exactly sure what to call them, made these folks so absurdly successful is their cover and their coordination. And I'm seeing that within the TI community. I'm having this bizarre event with this group of ladies that it's bizarre. And it's like a perptum. It's like really a perptum. And it kind of started out like that as well. So now, of course, I'm suspect of like that part of the group of being a part of the perpetrator's endeavors. But that's an aside. Back to the human trafficking. Yes, there's this human trafficking, not just for organ harvesting and bizarre rituals and everything else we've unfortunately learned about, but there appears that it appears that the targeting phenomena is like a subset of this human trafficking for human non-consensual human experimentation purposes, for subversion of true social evolution of movement within different categories of humanity's growth, uh, and also for for all of these very sick and bizarre other modalities of expression. So I'm going to ask particularly TIs to, I know how difficult this is because I've been where you are when they're really attacking you electromagnetically and financially and socially. And I know how hard it is to be still in that storm. But I'm going to ask you, please, to be still in this storm and to begin to observe very carefully what is truly happening with your claims, with your experience, with the other TIs that you know around you. Come together with them in your state, in your locale, so that we can move on this core group in a very coordinated manner, and and observe what's going on in the overall community, and just observe and keep your observations a servant to only truth, facts, and and a compilation of better evidence for your individual claim and for the class claims. Because I think if you approach everything that way, you automatically are able to create the level of mindfulness and non-attachment that our great spiritual leaders have gifted us with for a long time, that will help you not only transcend the difficulties that you're experiencing, but also transmute them in the very moment. Because remember, we are the moment. We are this, and this is our invitation to 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 transmute that very dark energy that's being directed at us into something really beautiful and positive as we move forward. Some business. So the core group is coming together. We'll be putting a call together. I've extended the UN deadline one more week, and I so apologize. But there's so many more people coming forward, and I didn't get the help that I really needed from the community because it's so fragmented, and because there's some very serious perpetrators that have control of a certain portion that is like, whoa, just leave that alone. But man, you run up against those folks, they're as vicious as any other perpetrator that you're ever going to encounter, and maybe even more so, because they seem to be protecting the myriad permeations of what targeting really is, and how it is definitively human trafficking, and how it loops in to this horrifically evil underside of this group of deep state individuals who just are clinically insane. And so the perps in our group are, whoo, they're some of the darkest I've seen. But the majority of TIs are true and real and beautiful and do an incredible job given the incredible limitations that they encounter on a daily basis. And I thank every single one of you who has been supportive and who has tried to do their very best for the community and has moved it positively forward. You have been at the devil's door. There is no question. And we continue to be there, and the devil is not pleased. So, um, for those of you who would like to work with the media with me, I need to speak with you directly because I need to talk to you about being on message. I can't possibly jeopardize the media campaigns that I'm putting together and the contacts I'm putting together with any misunderstandings, and there have been too many already in my 3 weeks of working on this with elements of the TI community. I can't do it. And if I'm considered difficult to work with, fantastic. I want to be. And here's why. I'm incredibly effective, and it's not based on PhDs, MDs, blah, blah, blah. It's not based on anything that you could point to and say, aha, that is a sign of effectiveness in our world, because as we can see, our world has been grossly mismanaged for quite some time by some pretty insane folks. So I am very proud to say that despite the incredible opposition I've encountered in my life, um, and my lack of affinity for the vast corruption that I saw, I have a nice little toolbox of skills and abilities that are extremely beneficial, but I'm protecting them very carefully now because of what I've encountered in the TI community in such a short period of time. I mean, it's like, it makes competition on Wall Street look like a walk on the beach. And it was pretty fierce there. And so it's not real competition. Real competition is a dance. This is perpdom. So don't misunderstand me when I say that I need to speak with you and I need to keep you on message. I'm not going to introduce my contacts to anyone without me vetting everyone. I have to do it. I've seen such bizarre behavior, such lack of integrity. It's with certain elements that I have to do this. I must protect my efforts, and I must protect my core moving group, because the people I'm working with have been very severely perped, and I mean very severely. And the majority of them are simply hardworking individuals who actually were exceptional in their ability to bring themselves up either from a certain level of poverty in their lives or their parents' lives, or simply from a middle class status level to a much higher education level. These are not all. There's a good mix, but the majority of TIs that I'm seeing across the board are exceptional individuals who were stopped by the system, and really stopped on a dime and then taken down. There's a small group that's not the case with, but that's a very, very small group. There are very few TIs who have been allowed to continue to be of exceptional functionality. Very few. In fact, I can count on my hand, in 3 years of reviewing this situation, April of 14, almost 3 years, I can count on one hand how many TIs have been allowed that. And I have reviewed, pardon me, I've reviewed a lot. So my observation is that the overall systemic management of the world's timeline is a social engineering systemic management that seems to be this dramatic expansion of the erroneous Nazi criminal strategies that brought us, and Japanese strategies that brought us eugenics and the horrors of the Second World War. And it goes a lot deeper, so it's very unfortunate that whomever took over those principles, and they were backed by industrialists in both countries, by the way. Just reality check. That's the reality. You don't get that kind of power without lots of dinero. And it's been documented everywhere. So the folks who have expanded this are equally as insane, equally as demonic, and forgive the use of the word, and equally as dangerous. However, we do have the numbers, and a lot of their technologies fail. They've tried things on me that fail regularly. They've tried to murder me regularly. That's failed. They may succeed, but you know what? I'm so over them. I'm just like, great, let me go to source. Bring it on. I know that's not healthy, but I'm just kind of, the death thing does no longer bother me at all. So we have the numbers, and if we stand in our truth, our integrity, our spiritual power, we will transmute this, and we definitely will transcend it. So you and let her out one more week. Please contact me ASAP at Annie, A-N-I, Kaspar, K-A-S-P-A-R, @gmail.com, so I can walk you through the letter. We can get you online. We are putting together that core group. That core group is going to move together in a wide variety of ways to break open, really break open this terrain and start to see some true growth. And I am working now to put together my core group people for different elements of my group so that we can actually be really, really effective for the entire group. So I welcome help from some folks who have some time to do this in different areas. Again, reach me at anniekaspar@gmail.com or call me at 941-356-8007. And again, back to the media folks finally. Guys, I just have to vet you and walk you through message, okay? Because the programs change, and I don't splatter. I have a call into that Mike McFate, by the way, because I still can't believe, I mean, it's like, I can't believe the New York Times published something like that. It is like, that's such a smear piece that's so scientifically unfounded that I would have fired the dude for publishing it if I was his editor. And if I was his editor and I approved that, I would have, the supervisor of the editor approved it, I would have fired him. I would have fired that editor. You can, I just cannot believe. And I know media's compromised, I know, but that was so out there. It's such an obvious attempt to protect the deep state folks who have so much to lose. So anyway, I think that's it for today. And I'm putting the call together too, but I need a techie person on a bunch of different things. So someone who's a real techie person, please contact me as well. Blessings, everyone. That group that I'm having such a problem with, the lawyer's putting together a cease and desist letter because it's become absolutely ridiculous. Just ridiculous. I have never seen something so ridiculous. So it's perpdom, because perpdom acts like this. I'm not saying you're perps. I'm saying it's perpdom. I'm not saying you're doing it consciously. I'm saying it's perpdom because I've never seen anything like it. Never in my life. And I recorded conversations across the board because sometimes I have to. So it's very obvious what is going on. For those of you who are real and doing a fantastic job for our community and for our world and for me, blessings.